we're going to talk a little bit about quality assessment and data extraction. And here, what we're doing is we're thinking about the way in which we would do this in the context of a review that's potentially using qualitative literature. And so what I'm going to show you really is the tool and how it works, rather than thinking about, well, the tool as in EPPI Reviewer, rather than thinking about which quality assessment tool, for example, we might want to use, because that's a whole nother issue to think about. Right. Sorry with the pause, I'm just finding my review. Okay. So we've got a review here on weight management programs. I'm going to be fairly careful because this is a real review. And what I want to do is just list some citations first of all. Well, just one citation, in fact. And here we've got a qualitative study of general practitioners and practice nurses' attitudes to obesity management in primary care. What we've already done in this review is to upload PDFs for the file for the studies which we're interested in. And so I can view the PDF. I can also download the PDF, but I'm going to view it within the software here. And here it is. So we can see, I wanted to sort of show you one which was not the cleanest of PDFs, just so that you can see that it can handle some sort of fairly ugly looking PDFs in terms of, this one looks as though it's been scanned in, but we can still view it. Okay, so we've got a PDF here about general practitioners and their attitudes. And when we're doing a data extraction and a synthesis in this area, what we often want to be able to do is to be able to both apply a pre-existing data extraction tool and also to have some flexibility in the interface that we're using to be able to modify that tool as we're using the software. So as we're interacting with the data, when we're doing a qualitative analysis, we want to be able to refine our data extraction tool, which is what we've got the ability to do here. So for a start, we had a pre-existing framework which was around our understanding that that users' views might well be different to providers' views, for example. So people who are using the service will have a different perspective than those providing. So we set up a tool which said, okay, so we're going to distinguish, first of all, between what users said and what providers said. In this study here, it's very clearly it's about practice nurses' attitudes, so it's providers' views. So what we've done is we've ticked this box here. And we had a sort of a framework which told us we've got information which is about before the engagement, around the program itself, and after the engagement, and then stuff which is around barriers and facilitators. Okay, so some of that we set up in advance of doing a data extraction. But then when we're doing the data extraction, what we might find is that there are issues that arise in the papers which lead us to want to modify that tool. What I wanted to show you, actually what I'll do is I'll show you first of all is, I'll just bring up the tool here, which probably looks rather large on the screens in front of you. But basically I've got a structure of the tool here, and I can look at the whole tool, and this is something I can set up in advance. But it might well be that we need to modify this as we go. So for example, it might be that there are some issues around post-program support and follow-up. For example, at the moment we've got issues around sustainability and continuity of care. And what we can do is, while we're in the middle of reading the paper, it might be that something in the paper has led us to think that actually when we're thinking about post-program support, there's got to be something around, I don't know, resources for further implementation. I don't know. It's something which may or may not be part of this review. So I've now added that in as a code within my data extraction framework as quickly as that. Obviously, for some reviews, you don't want to start adding classifications like that, and we can lock the tool so that reviewers haven't got that instant ability. But for this review, we definitely want to be able to add extra codes. So as we go, we can continually add and remove codes. We can merge codes, and we can move them around, drag and drop them around. And for this study here, for example, I can say, okay, so for this one, I can say that this PDF does contain something about resources for further implementation. And I can see, for example, in the text here, what I might want to say is actually this text in the PDF directly supports that assessment that I've made there. And so what I can do is I can select the text, and I can click Add the code. So you can see now it's highlighted. And what that means now is that when I go into looking across the citations, when I do reports, or if I want to pull up all of the text which has been coded according to a particular attribute, for example, I can now instantly view that text alongside the codes that I've just put it in. So for example, if I pull up another citation, so let's have something else, something preferably that's not that study. There we go, one that's not that study. I can go into this one, I can look at its PDF file, here it is, and I can select some different text. For example, I could say, well, this actually is also to do with resources for further implementation, so I'm going to tick that, and I'm going to associate that text now with further implementation. So now there are a lot of different reporting facilities in EPPI Reviewer, which I won't have time to show you all. But if I can find that code that I've just added here, where will I put it? Down here? Here it is. For example, I can right-click that code and I can say, give me all of the text that's coded. And so I can instantly see the two studies which I've just been coding, and I can see that text that I've pulled from the PDF file. And so the kind of flexibility of being able to add codes, associate text with particular codes is really useful for that type of analysis. But this ability to be able to associate text, obviously, with codes is useful for any analysis. So, for example, if I was doing a risk of bias analysis, being able to say this is the text which justifies that decision is a really useful thing to do, regardless of the type of analysis we're doing.